In this session we will study about nutrition in humans and how human beings obtain nutrients. But before we get into that, we need to understand a couple of terms, a couple of concepts. The first one is that we should try to understand what are nutrients. So nutrients a nutrient is any substance that is needed by an organism to perform various functions. Functions such as growth, reproduction, repair, regeneration, etc., etc. Now there are five groups of nutrients that I hope everybody knows, but we should discuss them again. So the first important type of a nutrient is called a carbohydrate. It's a carbohydrate. Similarly, we also have other nutrients such as proteins, fats, we got vitamins, and we have minerals. What you must always remember is that water, H2O, water is not a nutrient. So you got five classes of nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals sometimes are taken as one class, as a one combined class. So after understanding nutrients, let us come to the next term which we must understand is nutrition. So the process of obtaining nutrients is called nutrition. For example, when you eat food, you are involved in nutrition. You are basically executing the process of obtaining nutrients by eating food, and that is called nutrition. Now, nutrition is of different types. Different organisms obtain nutrients in different ways. Let us look at the first one, autotrophic mode of nutrition. These are called different modes of nutrition, the ways by which an organism obtains nutrients. Now the autotrophic mode of nutrition is seen in plants, is also seen in organisms we call algae. But at the moment you should think of plants, because you must have seen, all of you must have seen plants. Now plants can make their own food, which means they can create these nutrients by themselves. They can create carbohydrates, they can create proteins, they can create fats, vitamins. So they can create all of these nutrients, and that's why we call them autotrophs. And how do they do it? Plants conduct a process called photosynthesis, in which they take carbon dioxide from air, they take this substance called CO2 from air, they combine it with something called as water, which comes through the roots of the plant, through the soil, and then they combine these two using the energy from the sun. And this sunlight is trapped by a molecule called chlorophyll. And this reaction, photosynthesis, takes place in the leaf. Now these two are combined, carbon dioxide is combined with water, and we get a molecule of glucose. Along with this glucose, let's just write it a little neatly, C6H12O6. Along with this glucose molecule, also the plant releases oxygen gas, and some amount of water is also released out. But so what have the plants made? They have made glucose for themselves, which is a carbohydrate, right? And that's why the mode of nutrition in plants is called autotrophic. Auto means self and trophic means food. So plants can make their own food using very simple molecules around them. They can make nutrients for their own cells. Now you might be thinking, can they also make proteins or fats? Yes, they can. They can use these carbohydrates to further make proteins and fats and even vitamins. They can do that, right? So far we've understood what autotrophs are, the organisms that can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. There are other ways of making food by autotrophs, but we will not discuss them. We will only understand that autotrophs make food by the process called photosynthesis. So this is the first mode of nutrition that you've just seen. Let me just rub the screen so that we can proceed to the next mode of nutrition. Now, alright, I've also rubbed the line here, so let us draw the line once again. Yes, here. Right. So this is the first mode of nutrition, is called the autotrophic mode of nutrition. The second mode of nutrition is called heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now hetero is to obtain from someone else or from outside. Organisms that cannot make their food, that cannot make nutrients for their own selves, are called heterotrophs. They obtain food from other sources. Are we heterotrophs? Are humans heterotrophs? Yes, we are. Because we cannot make food. We consume plants. Because plants are rich in nutrients, so we consume plants. Humans also eat other animals. People who eat meat are also taking nutrients from animals. And where did these animals got their nutrients from? By eating these plants or eating other animals. Right, so humans are heterotrophs because we cannot make our food. We take our nutrients by consuming other plants or animals. Right? Now, let us look into slight greater details of heterotrophs. What are heterotrophs? What are the different types of heterotrophs? Now, heterotrophs are of further two types. There are two types of heterotrophs. Let me write it as 2A. It belongs to 2. 2A, and saprotroph is 2B. Now, the two types of heterotrophs or heterotrophic mode of nutrition, first is holozoic and other is saprotrophic. Now, these terms might sound a little confusing and complex, but the concept is very simple. All the heterotrophs that take food, ingest food into their body, are called holozoic animals. Humans are holozoics. Why? Because we have a mouth, and through this mouth we take food inside our body where it is digested. Let us take another example. Let us say a tiger. A tiger eats the food and takes it inside the body where the food is then digested. So these are holozoic organisms, holozoic heterotrophs. So we are holozoic heterotrophs. The second type of a heterotrophic organism are called saprotrophic. Now these organisms don't have a mouth. They don't have a mouth to take the food into the body. So how do they get food? Now let us take an example of a saprotrophic organism to understand it better. Now fungi. Let us take an example of a fungi. Now if you've not seen a fungi, let me give you an example. A mushroom, the food that you eat, mushroom, is a fungi. And how does mushroom obtain nutrition? Now mushroom is not an autotroph. It cannot make its own food. So how does a mushroom obtain its food? You might have seen mushrooms on pieces of wood or log in the forest or around the school, right? So mushrooms grow on dead wood. They grow on dead wood. When trees or plants die, especially the ones that have a lot of cellulose in them, cellulose is again a very complex carbohydrate. So when the trees they die, the logs fall down and they get a lot of water on them and they become moist and wet, and these mushrooms, they grow out there. And how do they grow? How do they obtain nutrition? Is that these mushrooms have got root like structures, but they are not roots. Okay, they are not anything like roots. So what the mushroom does is it releases from its body special enzymes. Now enzymes are special proteins. Enzymes are special proteins that perform variety of functions such as digestion. Digestion is nothing but breaking down of food. Breaking up of food is called digestion. So the mushrooms release special proteins outside their body onto the surface on top of this wood, and the wood is then decayed. The wood undergoes decomposition. The wood is then slowly digested outside the body of the mushroom, and there are these complex nutrients, complex carbohydrates, which are broken down into simpler carbohydrates, simpler proteins, etc., etc., and those digested components are then absorbed by the body of the mushroom through these root like structures which we'll not look into greater details. Now the nutrients are absorbed into the body of the mushroom. So you see that the mushroom has no mouth and has no digestive system to, like us, for example, stomach or intestine. So it digests the food outside the body, and then whatever has been digested on the outside is absorbed by the body of the mushroom. So such a mode of nutrition is called saprotrophic, or food is digested outside the body and nutrients are absorbed. So coming back to the entire process of nutrition again, nutrition is the process of obtaining nutrients. There are two modes of nutrition. The first mode is called autotrophic mode, in which organisms make their own food. Example is a plant. Example are plants. And another mode of nutrition is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, in which organisms cannot make their own food, rather they obtain food from outside. The two further types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition are holozoic mode of nutrition, in which organism takes food inside the body where the food is digested and nutrients absorbed, and the other mode of heterotrophic nutrition is called saprotrophic mode of nutrition, in which the organism does not have any mouth, any digestive system. It releases chemicals called as enzymes. These are special proteins. These enzymes, which are released outside the body, then digest the food outside the body, and the digested nutrients are absorbed by the organism for performing various functions of life. An example of a saprotroph is a mushroom. Also, large number of bacteria, all the bacteria are also another example of saprotrophs. I hope you have understood the process of nutrients and nutrition. In the next session, we'll get into the details of nutrition in humans.